God is good. During the long wait for Pantheon Rise of the Fallen to launch, we have to keep ourselves entertained, and that's easier said than done. I'm going to go out into several games and try them out and see where they stand in 2018 and how much of that awesome old school feel that they have remaining and how much they have changed. Today we'll be looking at Final Fantasy XI, and before we begin, if you are new to the channel, please consider subscribing if you are interested in Pantheon related content or old school MMOs, as that is what we do here at the Nathan NAPALM channel. But let's get to it. Good old Final Fantasy XI, the bizarrety to old school MMOs, and one that I spent a lot of time in back in the day. Recently, I've decided to give it a new shot and see how the game has fared over the years. I was pleasantly surprised to see that there are plenty of players on the official live server of Asura. According to my research, this is the most popular server, and it is very populated. So if you've been holding back on coming into back into Final Fantasy XI, should I say, Vana'diel, because you think this game is dead, I assure you that this is not the case. So let's talk about the experience you're gonna have when you first come back to Final Fantasy XI or you log in for the first time ever. Now, as far as the leveling experience, a lot has changed several times in the lifespan of Final Fantasy XI. In the original days, you might spend hours upon hours trying to get into a group or waiting for a white mage to heal your party, but now, in 2018, the game is soloable. Now, don't click X and run away, because I do highly recommend playing with other people because it is at least 10 times as fun. So, how would you continue leveling up in Final Fantasy XI by yourself, though, you ask? Well, now the game has something called trusts. These are NPCs that you can unlock that will assist you and act as other party members. I decided to not use them until I had no choice, just because I'm a glutton for that old school magic, and I've been playing with my wife, whom is a white mage. And being a white mage and warrior combo has been plenty of fun, and without the use of trusts. Although I would like to mention that leveling up has definitely decreased in the amount of time it takes. Many players have reached max level in about a week or so, when they really put their mind to it at least. My wife and I are taking it slower and enjoying the world and the game, and we aren't in a rush to get to the end game, which is a topic for another video, but I will say real quick that Final Fantasy XI has a massive amount of content to absorb your attention at endgame. If I had to compare the XP grind and give you a good example, I would say it's comparable to the regular EQ servers versus the progression servers. In other words, Final Fantasy XI used to take a ton of time to level up to max, and now it really doesn't. But the pace so far hasn't seemed like it's so fast that we aren't enjoying each zone. Quite the contrary, the amount we have spent in each zone feels adequate, so far at least, and the experience has been great. The world chat is still filled with people looking for parties, for content, the community feels alive, there is small talk and trading, and overall the game is definitely still alive. This kind of shocked me, to be honest, at least at first, but as I'm playing through this wonderful game, I'm really not surprised anymore. The magic of Final Fantasy XI is still here, and it doesn't take long for it to start to take hold. Let's talk about that. So first of all, the story is here, and at least at the time of this recording, you can play through the entirety of the story, and it's good. It's really, really, really good. Cutscenes, characters, and plot are all here, and it fits nicely into the lore of Vana'diel. Also, there's the way Final Fantasy works, which is very different than a typical MMO. You have a class, and then you unlock a subclass, and you have to level those up separately. You also can't just go get your subclass by simply talking to an NPC. There's a quest for that, and the game doesn't hold your hand and tell you where to go to get it. You'll either have to know, be told by the in-game community, or look it up. There's a definite old school feel to unlocking these things in Final Fantasy XI, from the sub-jobs to your first mount, the chocobo, unlocking different classes or jobs, as they're called here at least, to play as, to even level up walls that you have to do a quest to unlock the ability to continue leveling up, which reminds me heavily actually of the Hell levels in EverQuest, but done very differently in Final Fantasy XI. There's factions. There's also these little player versus player kind of activities where you don't actually fight other players, but just kind of like where each zone is controlled by one of the 3 starting cities, and whichever starting city community is leading in this zone gets benefits that the other 2 do not. There's the slower pace and more strategic combat. There's the bizarro menu-based actions and the old-school Final Fantasy XI macro system, and the named monsters roaming the zones ready to cause complete havoc to you and your fun. Final Fantasy XI is anything but a casual game. It's still a rough world with rough consequences, not like it used to be. For example, you do not lose experience on death now until level 31 and above, but dying and having to travel back is punishment enough right now, at least at these low levels. I'm going to be playing and streaming some Final Fantasy XI with my wife quite a bit, and I invite you to join me on the fun. In closing, I just want to say, if you ever loved Final Fantasy XI, or if you've never given it a shot, I highly encourage you to wade through the setup and give it a go. It's an engaging, wonderful experience, and one I think every MMO gamer owes to themselves to give a shot. Join me on Twitter, where I announce when I'm logging on, and maybe you can join me and my wife Winter on our adventures through Vana'diel. Guys, before I wrap up, I do have an announcement. The Nathan NAPALM channel is going to try to become self-sufficient as we lead up to the launch of Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. By the time Pantheon launches, I am going to be taking the lofty goal of trying to turn this channel into my own business. I want to devote all my time to providing content to this wonderful community, and not just the small amount of time I currently have. I really hate to ask for donations because I would rather you spend your money on supporting Pantheon, so I decided to offer a service instead. I now have a loot shop where you can purchase Nathan NAPALM gear and loot for real life. That's just a fancy way of me saying I have shirts and hoodies and a coffee mug for sale. This is all offered by the wonderful Teespring website, and I have a link in the description below. Please understand that any and all purchases will go towards making my channel better, more professional, and offering the opportunity for this to become a full-time job. My community is small right now, but I love each and every one of you, and I don't want you to feel pressured. If you want some gear, follow the link in the description below and see if there's anything that tickles your fancy. I'm going to make a video soon to cover all of this in more detail for those NAPALM super fans. Any questions you have for now though, please let me know. I want to work for you now. Please help me make this a reality. Until next time guys, God bless and happy gaming.